I'm with Tallula Haynes, who is one of our commended winners this year, with an absolutely superb poem called Alleyway Farmer. There are lots of questions I'd like to ask you about it if we had a lot of time, but I hugely enjoyed reading it. I'm really delighted that we were able to put it on our final list. It was a very easy choice.
Oh, thank you so much.
A very straightforward choice. So I'm interested to know how it came into being. How did you write this poem?
Yes, well, I only heard about the competition only a few days before the actual deadline, so it was written under quite a large time constraint itself. But I think that's one of the best ways to actually get about writing, because it gives you a deadline, it gives you that boost to almost make it flow naturally. You don't want it to be forced. So yeah, using the theme of dream, that was really useful just to start brainstorming off of that and trying to think of different ways it could be interpreted. And yeah, after that, it almost kind of flowed naturally from there.
And can you tell people watching this something about what the poem means to you? What is it trying to do? What is it trying to say?
I think the undercurrent for my poem was almost about how dreams can often be romanticised, especially in childhood. People can have dreams that they want to achieve when they're older, dreams they want to somehow complete before they die. So I think it was important for me to almost highlight that dreams are often idolised and glamorised, but in reality reality can get in the way and not be as it seems.
Right. Do you write many poems?
Not many though. I do English literature A-level, so I'm more used to being on the other side of it and just reading and studying them, but I think that also helps, just understanding the anatomy of the poems and how they work.
And whom do you like to read, whether in poetry or other kinds of literature? Who really speaks to you?
I quite like to have a large variety. I do like the work of Dickens. I think his characters are great, and I almost wanted to, maybe that probably fed into my work somewhere, into almost the characterisation and how that's almost heightened in the poem.
Yes, I was thinking that, because this for me is a poem with real character in it. Is that what it was for you when you were writing it?
Yeah, I think having strong characters are important, because they're almost what drives the narrative in either a story or a poem. So yeah, it was definitely an important thing for me.
It also struck me as, in some ways, quite a dramatic poem. You could imagine somebody in a play, speaking this. And I wondered about, when you're writing it, how you go about crafting voice in your poem.
Yeah, I think there's definitely like a dramatic element of it. You've almost got to get into the position of a character and act it out. You've got to think about how they'd speak and how they would react in certain situations. So I definitely think there's a certain aspect of that you've got to almost force yourself to be the character and speak in their voice.
Do you find it easier in some ways to imagine you're someone else when you're writing, or do you write poems that come out of your own experience more directly?
I think I like to use my experience as a starting point, but then from there it's easier to think about a character and also separate yourself from the poem, and then you can add elements to it.
And do you think you're going to go on writing poems?
I hope so, yeah. It was a really enjoyable experience just to write it and to know that other people read it and enjoyed it. So yeah, I hope I'll be able to write more poetry in the future.
That's great. And would you like to read it for us?
Yes, please. Okay, this is Alleyway Farmer. Sheepskin. My fingers run across the rug and trace the faded roads, a nail tugging on a loose hair to unravel its paths, its design. This is year 4. My sheet, my map in one hand, a pencil in the other between the stubs of 3 fingers, and a what do you want to be? Seriously me. But drugged by the garden's fantasy and a youth of yoghurt pots, I trace round each letter with the probe of a pen, pricking the sheet. Grandmother's embroidery. I create. Farmer, a fantasy. Years of that carpet vaporise right before me, and eyes lulled, I mould each day into a final sculpture of clay childhood. One day I'll fly, aeroplane or not, it doesn't matter, and far away, I bet in the Bahamas, there's no puberty or drawer of left letters, a loose thread, the numbers inscribed counting up periodically as Ma watches it, a clock. Each one once opened leads away Saturday's pocket money. On my shoulder, a cupped palm, cold, calloused but recognisable. That size, a fossilised imprint into my skin, Looking, there's a curve of her lips and the rising of her cheeks so that her eyes squint and she can't see me. Lips begin to part, tongue rolling within to formulate a sound, a syllable, an anything. Ma, it speaks. No, that is not my mother. It can't be. She'd never. Can't smell underground. A fantasy. And I'd never. I blink, drinking in the blue of the morning. In the alley again, still. Good. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Because today's fruit, a bouquet of crumpled notes, 20s, green and rusting, soiled by a bloody nose. Found them on the floor, I swear. See how I clutch them. Touch to my chest, because petals fly away if they can.
Thank you.
Thank you.